time for SportsWrapp on 90.5 WASU FM.
.5 WASU. You heard the intro. It is time for SportsWrap. My name's Jeffrey Marson alongside Andrew Travers, Lucas Warren. How are we doing today, fellas?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Lucas?
I'm excited. March Madness is around the corner, so it's a great time to be a sports fan.
That's right. It is the first day of March, which means we are all ready for March Madness, and that will segue us perfectly into our first segment tonight. We're gonna talk about App State basketball, the Sun Belt tournament. Then we'll go into college basketball at the national landscape, and then we will finish off with App State football as the new schedule came out today for the first time. So starting with App State basketball, Sun Belt tournament starts this Thursday afternoon with a 8-9 game between Louisiana and Texas Arlington. That's at 12:30 Eastern on Thursday. That'll be the first game of the Sun Belt tournament. App State's the number 2 seed. They have a bye, and they play the winner of Coastal Carolina and Georgia Southern. Just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on App State going into this tournament, maybe gauge confidence levels on how you think the Mountaineers will fare.
I think this is a good App State team, but they're just not playing their best ball right now. They ended the season 2-3, including back-to-back home losses after going on a 10-2 stretch. So we were really playing our best ball in the middle of the season. So a little disheartening to see, especially when you see other teams in the conference like Texas State and Georgia State on 7-win streak and 9-win streak to end the season. But yeah, I think this App State team could definitely win this conference, and we're right there as the 2 seed, but just not playing our best ball at the moment scares me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I agree there's definitely a lack of consistency there, and we're not scoring and we're not overall playing well. We definitely did better in the beginning and middle of the season, but towards the end we kind of fell off. So the consistency really hasn't been there. We lost to Troy twice. We lost to Georgia State, Texas State, Arkansas State in the regular season finale. So those losses were kind of significant, but I feel like I kind of feel pretty confident for the Sun Belt tournament. I think we'll just, I think we'll make a pretty good run.
I like your point, Andrew. Consistency's never been the name of the game for this team, especially last year. It was a lot more extreme than it was this year. But, it could be worse going into the tournament. We lost 6 of 7 going into the Sun Belt tournament going last year.
And won the tournament.
Good point. Good point.
And we won the tournament without a bye.
Right.
We had a couple of good games against South Alabama and Little Rock, and then kind of just fell apart in that last game. You don't really know what happened there, but as far as overall confidence levels, I'm pretty confident. Number 2 seed. You take a look at the path that App State has. Their 2 biggest threats to me are on the top side, so I think it plays out well for them. So for the Mountaineers, who are some guys that need to step up for this tournament run to happen? Last year was Michael Almonacey won Sun Belt tournament. What was it? Player of the tournament.
Player of the tournament, yeah.
Most outstanding player.
Most outstanding player, yeah.
Right.
My mind blanked there, but who's the guy who's got to step up for you guys?
Yeah, I'm looking at 2 guys. I guess I'll start with the one who's more likely to step up. Donovan Gregory's been having a great season for us, and I know he's not a guard, but he's our only ball handler that's shooting over 50% from the field. He can actually create his own shot, which isn't something a lot of players on this team can do. Obviously, we have the 3 guards who score most of our points, but Gregory has been a really consistent guy attacking the rim. And we talk about consistency. This team goes through offensive droughts all the time, and I just think we need to get the ball and inside Gregory's hand, or just attack the rim more, because we just go through these stretches where we take so many threes, and that's our team's strength, 3-point shooting. But it's just the what's the word I'm looking for? How good of the shot we're taking. We take
shot
a lot of
quality.
Really bad quality.
Yep.
Yeah, we take a lot of non-quality 3-point shots, and especially the guy I'm also going to mention, Justin Forrest, takes a lot of not great shots. He's posting career lows in points, rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage as a senior. It's very rough for him. But this is when you got to turn it up. This is when maybe if he can really put this together, have a great senior year, it'll have to be now. We need him now. So yeah, those are 2 guys I'm really looking for in this tournament.
Yeah, kind of going off of that for me, Justin Forrest was the first guy I put down. He's not shooting well from the field. He's not shooting well from three, so he definitely needs to improve those percentages in order to for us to make a tournament run this in the Sun Belt tournament. And then he was also a big name last year when they made it to the first four of March Madness. So definitely need him to step up. And then I put down C.J. Huntley as another one. He's a sophomore, so he has great potential for like this season and future seasons since he's so young. And I think he's shooting 50% from the field this season. So definitely keeping up that consistency during the tournament might make a difference.
I like those picks, guys, especially the Donovan Gregory pick. You mentioned the cold spells that this team goes on.
Yeah.
And, Donovan Gregory is that guy who can, get you the easy bucket. So, when you're missing 5 threes in a row, that's the guy who you need to look towards to get a free 2 points. But for me, I'm going to go back to the most outstanding player from last year, which is Michael Almonacci. He's been, inconsistent as most of the team has been. You've seen it on display in these past 2 games. Little Rock dropped 26 points on 6 made threes.
That was insane.
Yeah, he was incredible. Next game, 2 of 11, 6 points.
Yeah.
You need some consistency there.
Definitely.
It's the name of the game going into the Sun Belt tournament, especially for a guy like him. If you can get him to start hitting his shots, I don't think there's many teams that could beat App State in this tournament. Moving on to the next point, about teams that you think could beat App State. I had mentioned the biggest threats. Texas State's the number 1 seed. They're on the top half. Troy, who has swept App State this year, also on the top half of the bracket. So, who really is the biggest threats for App State moving forward in the Sun Belt tournament?
Yeah, you definitely got to look at Troy, Texas State, and Georgia State. Those are the guys I'm really looking for, especially Texas State and Georgia State. They're just playing great basketball right now. And one of App State's best things this season, or what they've been best at this year, has been their defense. They were at one point number 1 in the Sun Belt in scoring defense. They are now number 3, and 2 teams above them are Texas State and Georgia State. So that's still concerning there. And then, as we talked about before, we might be seeing Coastal Carolina as our first opponent. That's concerning because Coastal Carolina is one of the best rebounding teams in the Sun Belt. They're the best offensive rebounding team, and our leading defensive rebounder is Adrian Delph. So that's just a little concerning there. Mustafa could definitely eat up in the paint against us. We don't really have a true big guy to match up against him, so that's definitely concerning. Just as that first game can really catch us off guard. So.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely Troy sticks out the most to me. Like you said, we've lost to them twice this season. I think the first time we lost to them by 15, and then second we lost to them by 6. So definitely could have been better there. I think they're a difficult team to play because they rebound the ball well and they shoot well. And then Georgia State was my second one because when we played them, I think here at the home center, they just played a really physical game. They shot the ball very well. So. And we couldn't really match that in that game. So definitely Troy and Georgia State are definitely the 2 that stick out to me overall.
Yeah, I like that Troy pick a lot. They've given us trouble, and among the teams that I've seen App State play this year, whether I'm watching at the home center or at home, Troy's been the team that I feel like has given us the most trouble. We've got the most guys that can create their own shots and actually hit those shots. A lot of these other teams just have guys who drive to the basket, and that's their offense. But, Troy can make a lot of jump shots. And you mentioned Georgia State. They shut us down here at the home center.
Absolutely.
I think it was 16 first half points.
12.
Yep. Was it less?
I think it was 28 to it was a 12-point lead.
28 16 at halftime.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
We shot 22% from the field in that first half.
Yeah,
that game was atrocious. I was watching it. It was bad.
It was not pleasing to the eye. For sure. But we have beaten Georgia State. We went on the road and beat them with the buzzer beater that Justin Forrest had. So, we know we can beat them. We know, we got lucky with Texas State, I think, only having to play them once. But, I feel like we competed against them pretty well. And
yeah,
I like that point about Coastal Carolina because we played them twice, but it was in the span of about 3 days, I think.
Yeah, we played them back to back.
Yeah, back to back. Mustafa is a problem. Hopefully we can shut him down as well. But that brings us to our final point here. What are our overall predictions? Who do we think is going to the big dance representing the Sun Belt Conference? It's okay to be biased or non-biased.
Yeah, no, maybe I'm just kind of hedging my own emotions, like just trying not to be disappointed here. But like, you made that point earlier that App State wasn't looking too good going into the tournament last year. And that just shows like this is a tournament that really anyone can win. Like, I'm not counting out a team like Coastal Carolina who's won 3 straight going in. And it just scares me that this team just doesn't have a lot of consistency offensively. Like, it just feels like we're a team that could get caught, and especially we're terrible. Like, I think we're second worst free throw shooting team in the Sun Belt. That comes in very important in close games, especially in tournament play. You need to be able to make free throws down the stretch. I think this App State team can definitely win this tournament. We have a lot of creation with our 3 guards in Forrest, Delph, and Almonacey that a lot of teams just don't have. And then we just have I think Coach Kearns has created a great system with just pace and space, 3-point shooting with this team. But the offensive inconsistencies and the free throw woes have just really, I don't know, I'm scared about this. I just don't think we're going to make the same run this year.
Not life or death. Yeah. Who do you think?
I'm looking at a team like Texas State, and they just look really good going into it. But yeah, I do. It's just an eye test thing, but Coastal's just always looked, the 2 games we played against them, they just looked really good against us. They have a lot of weird talent on their floor that a lot of teams can't match up against, like Mustafa. They have, I always blank on his name. He's a 6'6" point guard on that team. But yeah, they just have a lot of weird talent on that team. I feel like they could surprise the Sun Belt and win it. But yeah,
yeah, definitely. I think App clinched a first-round bye, so I think they're already on to the quarterfinals since they finished second in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
So we already have that going for us. We're already making it to the quarterfinals. I think if we play Coastal, it's a little shaky if we're going to make it like past the quarterfinals or not. But I think if we play Georgia Southern, it's almost guaranteed that we make it past the quarterfinals. And then I think we can make it to like the semifinals and the championship if we shoot well from the field and from 3. And like he was saying, make our free throws, because those are very important down the stretch, especially. And I think if we have all that going for us, I think we'll make a deep tournament run for sure.
Yeah, it's not a question about can at this point. It is about will, and I think teams 1 through 9 in the Sun Belt can win this tournament.
Yeah,
but it's all about who will. And while I think App State can, I think the winner of Troy and Texas State will probably likely take home the Sun Belt title. I already touched on Troy; they're a pretty darn good team, and of course Texas State, who got away with not having to play 3 conference games because they got canceled in the middle of the season, but they're still a very good team. Caleb Asbury is a bucket for them. He had 26 points in their season finale against Troy. So I'd lean Texas State to win this tournament. And it's so boring going chalk, but
yeah, I was going to say either Texas State or Troy is my prediction to win the tournament. It depends on which team, plays better and shoots better and has better overall play.
Like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of parity with all these teams that are so evenly matched. Yeah. I think. So that starts on Thursday with Louisiana, Texas Arlington. App State won't play their first game until Friday at 7:30, which likely will not be 7:30 if you know how tournament scheduling works. But when we come back, we're going to talk about some college basketball on the national landscape.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to SportsWrapp right here on 90.5 WASU-FM, the app.
Appalachian State University's Performing Arts Series, the Schaefer Center, is an all-virtual spring season filled with music, dance, and theater. February 4th through March 25th. All events are free, but registration is required. Their website is theschaefercenter.org. 90.5 WASU-FM, the app. Proud to be your award-winning student-run radio station. No matter where you go, you have the radio. Visit the website, listen live at WASUradio.com. Download the WASU app, or listen on the iHeart app, or just say, Alexa, play WASU-FM. News, sports, and weather. And on any platform, we are still your college, your station, your music. 90.5 WASU-FM.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I go home. I'm probably okay. I roll the window down to keep alert. I'm probably okay. I pop some gum in my mouth.
out of the car, please.
I'm not okay.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the Ad Council, NHTSA, and 90.5 WASU FM.
This program is sponsored by Eggers Law Firm, located on West King Street in downtown Boone. From business to traffic matters, the Eggers Law Firm has provided legal service to the High Country since 1950. As fourth-generation Appalachian alumni, the Eggers Law Firm is here to assist you with legal help when you need it. The Eggers Law Firm, 737 West King Street.
Welcome back to SportsWrapp. I'm your host, Jeffrey Marson, with Lucas Warren and Andrew Travers. First time meeting him. All right, give me a break.
You're good.
Okay, that was bad. But we move on. We're going to talk about college basketball next. You know, it is March. We are moving on to the nitty-gritty of the season. And boy, we had an interesting Saturday, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was so interesting. I've heard it was one of the most interesting Saturdays in college basketball history.
Oh, yeah. That's one way to put it. 6 of the top 7 teams lost on Saturday. That's Gonzaga, Arizona, Auburn, Kansas, Kentucky, and Purdue, all losing on the same day. So, guys, I want to ask you, which loss to you was the most surprising?
For me, I think I said Arizona losing to Colorado was the worst, just because Arizona was so good in the Pac-12 and overall. They were second in the AP poll at the time, and you think about Colorado was like further down. I think they had like 10 losses on the season, or
they had 15 and 10 going in.
Yeah, 10 losses on the season coming in. So that was definitely shocking to see Arizona like fall like that to a team that wasn't as prominent in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I said Arizona as well. I just thought it was the way they lost, losing by 16 points. But it was also, not only was it shocking, but it was also concerning because Colorado really exposed their weak interior defense. Arizona has been one of the better offensive teams throughout the season so far. But defensively, they haven't really been tested there, but they haven't been great. They've just had a lot of shootout games. But yeah, Colorado shot 48% from the field compared to Arizona's 39%. Tristan da Silva, he's a 6'10 power forward for Colorado, had 19 points on 7 of 10 shooting. That's just the kind of guy that's tough for this Arizona team, someone who has length but also skill that can finish around the rim. They really struggled to contain him in that game. And it was just tough. That game was close all throughout the first half, and really until the 10-minute mark, Colorado just pulled away late, and that's just not great to see from the number 2 team in the nation. You know, traveling to Colorado, that's a tough place to play, but still, in number 2 team, you should make that a closer game.
Right, and the nice thing about them is, you know, they lost and they're still number 2.
Yeah.
In the AP poll that came out today. But I agree with you guys. Arizona was probably the most surprising loss of the 6. But of the other ones, I think Gonzaga was the most surprising. You know, St. Mary's is always usually pretty good.
The Gales.
That's right. Usually in that mid 6 to 10 seed range. They were the number 23 team coming into this game. I mean, and they dotted up Gonzaga, outside
the whole game.
That's right. Outside shooting, shot 37%. Their point guard Kuzi, he's got a bald head, and he's making great. Tommy Kuzi, making great passes, finding the open shooter. He was fantastic. But Gonzaga, in the West Coast Conference, you're expected to win pretty much every game you play, and St. Mary's came out and played well and neutralized some of Gonzaga's top guys. Drew Timme just 6 points. Chet Holmgren also 6 points. So St. Mary's may have found a weakness in Gonzaga going into the tournament.
Yeah, no, I think this Gonzaga team, they're very good. I think, obviously, they're number 2 in offense in the nation. And a lot of people, I just see it, just love piling on Gonzaga. It's a regular thing. And this was a bad loss. I think it also adds to it. This is totally off topic, but like it's just the gyms they lose. Like if you lose in like a high school sized gym, it's not a good look when you're the number one team in the nation. But I still think this Gonzaga team is really good, and I think this loss can not help, but like there's just such a gap between them playing real basketball because they have a real schedule, but they play all those games in November or early December, and then you just have 2 months of just cakewalk games. So having a real team in the West Coast Conference in St. Mary's, I think, is a good thing for them, just getting them ready for the grind that is March Madness. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought that game was kind of shocking for Gonzaga. Just seeing Timmy and Holmgren each getting 6 points apiece. Like normally, those are guys you expect to step up for their team.
Yeah, those are their top 2 guys normally.
Yeah, so I mean,
12 shots total too.
Yeah, so for them, like for their total to be 12 points between those 2 players, yeah, I mean, you got to do better.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Lucas. They really do just cakewalk through that conference.
Yeah.
They do have some like solid teams, but none that can compete at an elite level. And St. Mary's showed that they can do just that. Cakewalking through Pepperdine and Pacific is not a way to build a resume, but they're still number 1 even after the new poll today.
Yeah.
I think, the polling is so weird this week because it's just because all the teams lost. Yeah, it's like, where do you put, like, I thought maybe Duke would hop up, but the ACC's so weak that they're being held back. So, which is weird because it's like Gonzaga's in the West. There's a lot of weird
4 of the teams dropped and 2 of the teams stayed right at the top.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that Baylor, I'm seeing here, they jumped up 7 points, 7 spots to number 3.
I'll get to them.
That was a big jump.
I'll get to them later because they're a very interesting team. But looking at the other losses, take a look at Auburn, who lost on the road against Tennessee, and I mean that was a horribly played game by both sides. I watched that game. Both of them were. They were missing shots. They were shooting like just over 20% apiece. That's supposed to be a top 25 matchup right there, and neither of those guys impressed me. Kansas, I don't expect them to go into Baylor and beat them. Baylor's way too tough, and on the road as well. Kentucky, another tough loss against Arkansas. Again, it's not one where you're like, dang, I'm really surprised Kentucky lost, but
yeah, that Kentucky one to me is probably the most. Baylor's definitely the most defendable. You lose to a top 10 team at home. That's not even gonna be a blemish on your resume. But for Kentucky, they were down double digits at one point in that game against Arkansas and battled back. And I just think that team, they're right now. We'll get into it later, so I won't say yet. But they're a very good team. I like how they battled back in that game and didn't like roll over when they easily could have. And Arkansas is a really good team. They've been playing great ball recently. They lost 5 of 6 games earlier in the year, and I think they're 10-1 over their last 11 games. So yeah, they've been really playing great ball down the end of the stretch of this college basketball season. So that was a very good loss for Kentucky.
And I won't forget that last team that lost. That was Purdue at Michigan State, the noon ESPN game.
Must win for the Spartans.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that probably put them in the field as well. So a big win for them. And moving on, who are some of these teams that you want to watch going towards the end of the season, whether you think they're getting hot, maybe they're on the bubble or falling off that bubble?
For me, my biggest team to watch is Auburn. They started off the year red hot, and they've kind of slumped off a bit, but they're still, I think they only have like 4 losses on the season overall. Walker Kessler is a player for them that really stands out to me. I think he has about like 150 blocks this season, which is crazy, and he averages about 5 points a game. So definitely a team that could probably make a run in their tournament and at the end of the regular season. And then Baylor for me, they had the biggest jump in, like I said, in the AP poll this week, and Adam Flagler just looks really good for their team. So Baylor's my second.
Boo. Boo Walker Kessler's a traitor. No, I won't
get him out of here.
Yeah, but no, so we just talked about them, but I see the Arkansas Razorbacks as a really good team going into the tournament. They have J.D. Note, who's one of the best guards in the nation, averaging 19 points a game. He's been great for them, and this is what I was looking at. So they lost 5 of 6 games, and then since when was that date? That was back in December. So December, they have only lost 1 game since December by 1 point against Alabama. So they have rattled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 4 more with that. So 13-1 in their last 14 games. They're playing great basketball going into it, and if they, like that. SEC conference is really coming together. They have a good top 4 with them, Auburn, Kentucky, and I'm blanking on the last one, or Alabama. Yeah.
Alabama.
So yeah, they're probably going to have a 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed going into the tournament. And yeah, that SEC tournament's going to be really good. Let's see who gets out of those 4 really great teams.
Yeah, I like those picks a lot. Watching J.D. Notae play this past Saturday was incredible. He's going to be one of those, March heroes, I think, for Arkansas. And to your point about Auburn, Saturday was the first time I watched them play, and I was so unimpressed. It was unbelievable. But that was just one game, of course. Don't take my word for it. Go ahead.
Jalen Williams also on Arkansas, really great big for them. I think he has potential in the league as like a switchable big. He just plays with so much effort, and he averages a steal and a block a game. Great defensively. I just wanted to mention that guy.
Yeah, no problem. And the team I'm watching, as Andrew mentioned, Baylor. What they're doing is incredible. Coming off the national championship, they lost, I think, 4 starters from their national championship team last year. Jonathan Chamwa Chachua, who is one of their best players. I nailed that. Yeah. And he got hurt earlier in the season, so they're playing without him. And they've had some guys step up big time. Talking about Adam Flagler, as you mentioned, James Akinjo, the guard, Matthew Meyer, the mullet man, and of course Jeremy Sochan, and not to mention Flo Thamba.
Flo.
What a name.
Flo, yeah.
And he's been incredible in these past couple of games. I think he's had a double-double in both. So Baylor, what they're doing after all the production that they've lost, with Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, who else had Mark Vital, Maceo Teague, all those guys gone, and Baylor is still near the top. So that's credit to Scott Drew and their coaching staff for playing at an elite level even after losing all those key pieces to a national championship roster. And one of our favorite parts of March is talking about some of those teams that you may not expect to come out of nowhere. So who are some of those mid-major teams that you're watching as we approach conference championship week?
Well, the first one that came to my head is Providence out of the Big East. I think they will actually do well in their tournament for their conference. They're currently ranked 9th in the AP Top 25, and they only have 3 losses this season. 2 are in the Big East, and 1's a non-conference loss. And then I thought it was going to be important to note that center Nate Watson, he's a center, and he's already averaging 14 points a game, I think 6 rebounds, and 56% field goal percentage. So that's crazy stats, especially coming from like a center, which you don't really think to have those kind of numbers.
Yeah, I got a few teams. I think San Francisco is a good team in the West Conference, and then Murray State, the Racers. They always do it. They're one of those mid-major schools that always make a run in the tournament. They're for real again this year,
right? And they're one of those teams that even if they don't win their conference tournament, they could still be in regardless.
Yeah, and that'll be tough. If they don't win, that's tough for a team because they'll get a lower seed, and you don't want to face a team like that in the first round. And then I mentioned them last week. They're one of those, like, if you consider them mid-major, but Memphis could make a splash. They just have so much talent. If things get put together at the right time for them, you could definitely see them making a run in the tournament.
That's right. Memphis has, all the NBA talent in the world. It's just taken them forever to put it together. And I'm not looking at a specific team, but more a specific conference. The Mountain West, guys, has 3, possibly 4 teams. Do you think that would happen?
Yeah, no, I actually followed the Mountain West. My dad went to San Diego State, so
they're that 4th team on the bubble there.
Yeah,
but
I had Wyoming written up. Right, that's another one.
Wyoming, Boise State's in the driver's seat in that conference. Colorado State's in 2nd. They can score the heck out of the ball. So I'm interested to see what those teams are about. I'll probably keep an eye on those guys. Some other teams to mention, North Texas out of Conference USA. You said Murray State as well in the OVC. And the Missouri Valley Conference is also very interesting to me. I think they get their tournament going here pretty soon.
That's Nevada's conference, right?
Missouri Valley is Northern Iowa, Missouri State, Drake, Loyola, Chicago.
Okay.
They've got,
I
mean, the Missouri Valley Conference is one of those conferences that usually is a 1-bid league, but they had 2 last year, and they could have 3, maybe 4 is a stretch, but 3, maybe 4 teams. You're talking about Northern Iowa, who stole one against Loyola, Chicago to end their regular season and become the regular season conference champs. You got Missouri State, who's got some ballers on their team. Drake is still good after last year. They made it in as an 11th seed, one of those last 4 teams in. And then Loyola Chicago is there sleeping at number 4. We know all about them.
Gosh, their tournament runs in March Madness. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
Exactly, and
crazy.
They've still got a lot of pieces from their team a year ago that helped beat Illinois with Io DeSumo and Kofi Coburn. Talking about Lucas Williamson, who's one of those great outside shooters. Braden Norris, Marquise Kennedy, and
is Norris still with them? Wow.
Braden Norris, he was one of those new guys last year who it seems like he's been there forever.
He was a freshman last year.
Right.
He played like a 5-year senior.
Exactly. That's how they were coached up there at Loyola Chicago. But our friend Cameron Krutwig is no longer with the program, so a bummer there.
He was like the smaller, thicker Jokic of the college basketball.
Exactly.
That was amazing.
Yeah, he was a ton of fun to watch last year for Loyola Chicago. So now we switch gears a little bit, going to the bigger picture, national championship. As of right now, who would you pick as your national champion?
For me, it would be Baylor. They just look overall really well. I mean, they've, like I said earlier, they've made a big climb in the AP poll. They're just looking really good overall. They have some key weapons, including Adam Flagler, and I just think like they could be repeat champions this year.
I hinted at it earlier, but I just keep looking at this Kentucky team, and let me clarify. This is a weird year in college basketball. It's super entertaining because I feel like there's like 6-7 teams that all have the exact same chance, I think, to like win it all. So I just look at which team is the deepest, which team has the most amount they could bring to a game, because there's just always going to be that game that like what you want to do gets shut off and you have to find a way to win. And Kentucky, they can just beat you in so many ways. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe, best rebounder in the country, not even close. I mean, he has like little suction cups on his fingertips. The ball just sticks to him. You got Grady, one of the best shooters in the league. Just like he's like Duncan Robinson running off screens.
Davidson transfer, I believe.
Yeah, he was at Davidson where Steph played. So yeah, shooters come out of there. And then and then you got Ty Washington. I think one of the best tough shot makers in college basketball right now. That's just a super nice guy to have, a guard that can just make tough shots. That's super useful in tournament play. And then, blanking on his name, but the Georgia guard, the small Georgia guard, very good.
Xavier Wheeler?
Yeah, Wheeler, yeah. Yeah, it's very good to have a guy like that who you can reliably just run your offense when things aren't going well. So, yeah, this team just has a lot to offer. And then, yeah, I think Calipari's a great coach during this time, so they're my pick to win it all.
I like that a lot. You mentioned it. The guard play is fantastic with Wheeler. He's tough to keep up with defensively and offensively.
Yeah, he's a bulldog defensively.
Exactly. And another team I wanted to touch on a little bit. I like Kansas a lot. They have that tournament pedigree. Ochai Agbaji is one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball. He's doing great things in that National Player of the Year conversation for them. Of course, David McCormick down low. So they still got a pretty solid squad, even though they lost this weekend to Baylor. And I like your Kentucky point. I think I mentioned that already. But I would agree with you, Andrew. As of right now, there's no one playing better than Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
At this moment. I've already talked about them so much. It's pretty much their second unit from last year is playing at the highest level in college basketball right now. Think about that.
Yeah. Crazy.
and you talk about how dominant Gonzaga was a year ago, and the pounding that Baylor put on them in the national championship game.
Yeah.
And then you got their second unit here with Flagler, Kinjo, Meyer, and they're just carrying the load like they didn't lose anybody. Lucas?
Yeah, no, one thing I want to say, Auburn has been playing their best ball lately, but the one thing they do have, I think, over most teams in this country is they're the best front court of any team. They just have a lot like that. It's a compliment. Walker Kessler, just a great post moves, just so good down there on the low block. Then you got Jabari Smith, who can do everything. He can shoot, pass, dribble. He's probably going to be the #1 pick, and that's just going to be tough for a lot of teams to match up against. Even a team like Gonzaga, their bigs wouldn't be able to hang with. Like Drew Timme and Chet are just not like the bigs you really want on defense. So I think Auburn, what scares me is down the stretch, they don't have the shot makers of a lot of these other teams, but as far as just dominating teams physically, they could definitely do that.
Right. And
Absolutely.
the problem with them, I feel like, is they rely too much on that front court, especially Jabari Smith. Watching that game this Saturday, it seemed like he was the one who was trying to, carry them back into the game against Tennessee, but to no avail, of course. But this tournament's going to be a ton of fun to watch because, anybody can win it. There's no, elite team that you think is just going to, chalk it up and put them in the Final Four, right? So, like last year, you had Gonzaga, you had Baylor.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a team like that this year. Of course, opinions on that are likely going to change after Conference Championship Week. So these next couple weeks should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch all those mid-major tournaments so you know who's going to make the upsets, who's actually good, and don't pick teams that are just 12 seeds just because they're 12 seeds.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about my bracket this year. I hope I can just account for everything, I think it's going to be kind of difficult just, with the changing landscape of college basketball for sure. So,
yeah, I think the parity this year is just pretty crazy compared to other years. Like just the fact that we haven't even mentioned a team like Duke in the championship conversation. There's just a lot of teams and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. Like you said, like Auburn, not the best guard play. Duke, they're very young. And then with a team like I picked Kentucky, not that dominant post guy. Sheboy that, but not scoring wise. But I was just going a little on tangent there. But yeah, I just think this bracket, it's going to be tough. I don't know how about y'all, but I never can account for everything. I feel like I always just that mascot's cool.
To your point, Duke doesn't get enough attention, of course, with Coach K's final season.
Right.
He's just so bad. It's just.
But with that, we will take another break, and when we come back, we will talk about App State football. New schedule coming out today with all the new Sun Belt Conference entries. So we'll take a break. You're listening to 90.5 WASU. It's SportsWrapp, sponsored by Eggers, and Eggers.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I go home. I'm probably okay. I roll the window down to keep alert. I'm
The app, proud to be your award-winning student-run radio station. No matter where you go, you have the radio. Visit the website, listen live at WASUradio.com. Download the WASU app, or listen on the iHeart app, or just say, Alexa, play WASU FM. News, sports, and weather. And on any platform, we are still your college, your station, your music. 90.5 WASU FM.
App State School of Graduate Studies. With a lot more.
People. They make up one of the top industries in Watauga County.
Firm, located on West King Street.
What a perfect segue into our final discussion topic of the evening. My name is Jeffrey Marson, alongside Andrew Travers, Lucas Warren, and our first, I guess, surprise special guest in SportsWrapp that I've been a part of. We got Ryan Hendricks here to talk App State football. I'd say it's the perfect segue. First game of the season, return to the MAC.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of gets us thinking a bit,
That's exactly right.
What a huge game to be in Boone. You thought that Coastal Carolina game was big last year. The Tar Heels coming to us. That's amazing.
It's big time. So that schedule, as I mentioned, came out today. I just wanted to gauge your overall thoughts on just the schedule as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. I think the schedule looks good overall. I think, we have a pretty good schedule this year. I did want to note that it was interesting that JMU is joining our conference next year. So it'll be interesting how we play against them and how they play against us, just how they are moving up. I think it's from FCS. I think they're moving up from FCS to FBS. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they play. And there's definitely some good games on the schedule. Texas A&M, which I'll get into later, and then Coastal and Marshall, 2 games from this year that we'll be playing next year. So those are very competitive, and I think those will be good games to watch next year for sure.
I think something really interesting about the schedule is we have this big home stretch. We're playing a lot of bad teams at that time, like Citadel and then Robert Morris. But then right after that, we have probably our 2 toughest road games of the year, outside of Texas A&M. But Coastal Carolina and Marshall back to back. That's gonna be really tough. It's gonna really test our team's mentality to see if we can win those.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, first reaction, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I just saw Texas A&M and UNC, and I'm always a believer, you got to schedule the games to win the game. So I like going for it. But when you actually get in the nitty gritty, and we talked about how our divisions kind of screwed us over this year, we don't have as many you can check it off as a win games. Right. I feel like, there's a real fear we can be 1-3 to start the year, seeing that we have Carolina, Texas A&M, Troy, which I think we could win at home, but then JMU. No pushover. They have been one of the most consistent teams in FCS for the last decade. So looking, and like you said, that tough road schedule with Coastal and Marshall back-to-back, App State's going to have to bring it this year. This ain't going to be an easy 10-win season like it has been in the past.
Right. This is a weird schedule, to say the least. We're playing the 2020 Orange Bowl in the first 2 weeks with North Carolina and Texas A&M. Yeah. And then I don't really know what to expect from James Madison other than that they're going to be good, but I don't know at what level do you think they'll be. Yeah. Will they jump into the FBS level like App State did and instantly dominate, or what?
Right.
And then taking a look at the later schedule, you guys mentioned the Coastal Marshall back-to-back. I think that's going to be brutal, especially kind of to have Robert Morris right before that. Kind of a tough break that we had to schedule them. But so just taking a look at the schedule, what is the game that you are marking as the most anticipated for you?
For me, it's between UNC or Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M, we're playing an SEC school this year, and we're going to College Station to play that game. So, Texas A&M, they've always been a good team in the SEC, and they have a rich football history associated with their school, so definitely that one. And then UNC is the other one for me. We played UNC back in 2019, and I think we beat them on a blocked field goal, I want to say.
Technically.
Yeah, something like that. But we did beat them by 3 last time we played them. So yeah, either one of those 2 games are big for me next season.
One that's big for me is going on the road in Coastal. Coastal was our big top tier game last year. We knocked them off. They're not going to be ranked 14th, or even they might not be ranked at all this year. But going to them, they're going to be fired up to try to get revenge on App. And of course, UNC and A&M are also big as well.
Conway is trash. It's not even. I think it's like no.
They're going to be heated after we storm the field against them, beating them as a top.
They were probably jealous.
We had some things to say to them too, leaving. But yeah, Conway's not even on the coast. People need to. Coastal Carolina is in the middle of South Carolina.
Not in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, it's trash. But yeah, I think I would definitely circle the North Carolina game. Obviously, the A&M game is interesting, but does any of us think we could actually win that game in College Station? It'd be amazing, but but the Carolina game just has a lot of implications for the state in general. I think if we could beat this Carolina team at home after beating them at home a few years ago, I mean, you can't really say that we're not the best football school in the state at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really no question at that point.
I don't know who you would say is
a bunch of woofies that'll be, in your talking about.
Maybe some deacons too, but I'm just saying, if we bring it to the Tar Heels twice, and if we beat them in Kid Brewer, I'm sure that game will be nationally televised somewhere. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I can't wait to see all the UNC fans come in. I was a UNC fan growing up, and I've grown to despise the Carolina Blue. And I just want to see their sad face walking out of Kid Brewer with an L. So.
Well, yeah, that week 1 is marked up for me for similar reasons. There's the entire town of Boone is going to be at this game. Yep. This game's holds a lot of meaning for me because I grew up in Chapel Hill. I was a Carolina fan, diehard. Went to the ACC championship game in 2015 where, they called Carolina offsides on an onside kick where they weren't. You guys probably don't remember that stuff, but
that was Williams as the quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
Marquise Williams was the quarterback. Playing against Deshaun Watson's Clemson team. We would have gotten the ball
closer game than people were.
Yeah, we would have gotten the ball back in a 1-possession game. I'm using "we" for Carolina. That's not going to go well over App State airwaves, but. This game's going to be a ton of fun. North Carolina, they've got a lot of figuring out to do after last year starting as a preseason top 10 team and then dropping off and ending up, I guess it was 7-6 and losing the Mayo Bowl by $1 billion against South Carolina.
A bad game.
Yeah, that was a mess. And of course, Sam Howell is gone, so I'm interested to see who they will put at quarterback. Of course, we'll probably know in week 0 when they play Florida A&M. But between Jacoby Criswell and Drake May, those 2 guys, I think Drake May will end up with the starting job. But both of those guys are very good.
For sure.
But that game's going to be so much fun. It's going to be loud. It's going to be intense.
It's going to be what App State football is all about. I mean, the vibe's going to be amazing.
That's exactly right. And that brings us to our next point, kind of bringing down the tone a little bit. 2 FCS games on the home schedule is not favorable.
Rough.
Yeah. A real head scratcher for me was Old Dominion. I don't know why we put Old Dominion on the schedule.
They're Conference USA. Yeah, they're in the Sun Belt now.
Yeah, they jumped.
Oh, okay.
The 2 ones is it's Citadel and Robert Morris.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well. Okay, going off of that then.
That's all right.
Robert Morris. That one's a real head scratcher for me. I think that's just kind of like a filler game, honestly. I mean, there's really no implications there. That's definitely. I think the Citadel is going to be the better game out of them and Robert Morris. I think the Citadel is going to be the more competitive game because way back in the day, App used to play the Citadel when they were in the Southern Conference in FCS. So I think that should be a good game, a good turnout at Kid Brewer for that one. And so I definitely think Citadel over Robert Morris will definitely be the more competitive game there.
Yeah, Robert Morris, the only reason they're on the schedule is because Marshall jumped into the Sun Belt, and we had to quickly, put another team in there. And I think that's something to say about college football scheduling, where we start scheduling games 5-6 years in advance.
Yeah.
That we end up with games like this. We didn't want to play Robert Morris, but we had to. And they're part of the Big South Conference, I'm pretty sure. That's just not up to App's level.
Yeah, no, I mean, that Robert Morris one is tough, and it's just
head scratcher.
I think it's mostly just the placement because it's like and we're all used to that beginning part of the season when it's like, oh yeah, it's usually like the one real game, then like a stretch of just like easy wins just to get like the team ready. But this game coming in like the end of October, like that's part of college football. I don't know, like that's just that week. I'm not even going to be paying attention to App State. So yeah, and then a little extra thing, like talk about SoCo rivalries. If you guys have time, there's a deep rabbit hole of just SoCo rivalries. Those are one of the best like football conferences for a stretch. Marshall and us would have battles.
Oh yeah, go on App State Nation on YouTube. They have all the old like SoCon App State games on there, and watching some of those games are really entertaining.
And I think another interesting one, even though it wasn't real competitive, App versus Western Carolina, they used to play for the Old Mountain Jug. So I mean, if we're scheduling SoCon teams, can we just play Western to get the trophy?
Really?
I'd rather play Western than Robert Morris any day.
No, that's a great idea, having these old SoCon rivalries back. But Brian and Lucas, you pretty much hit all my points. The time of the scheduling is super weird, just smack dab in the middle. Yeah. Usually when you have a game like that, you put them at the very beginning or the second to last week. And we just have it right in the middle of our conference schedule.
Such awkward timing, man.
Like they're a member of the Sun Belt. We're playing them after Georgia State and right before our big game at Coastal on a Thursday night. So, I mean, I guess that'll be a nice tune-up. And you mentioned the Citadel. That should still be pretty fun. They're pretty sure they're a triple option team, old SoCon rival. So that'll be a lot of fun. And brings us to our last point. Record predictions. Taking a look at the schedule.
Oof, you gotta go.
It's a very loaded question.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not always good with predicting records, but I would say I'm just gonna go through the schedule real quick. I think we'll probably lose to Carolina. Probably lose to A&M. We'll probably beat Troy. Maybe not James Madison. I've heard they're pretty good. That's kind of iffy. We'll probably beat the Citadel. So I think overall, I think we'll finish with about, I don't know, I would say 8 or 9 wins on the season. It's probably kind of the ballpark of where I'm thinking right now.
Well, I think our ceiling is 11-1, only losing that A&M game. Because we've proved we can beat UNC in the past. But our floor is all the way down to 7 wins. This schedule is tougher than it's ever looked before. We could feasibly lose to Coastal, Marshall, UNC, A&M, JMU even. You don't know.
Yeah, looking at this schedule, I'm just going to take those Carolina. I'm going to give them the win in Carolina just for my sake. And then that JMU thing, JMU game is really interesting. You said it, Jeffrey. I just wonder what they're going to look like because, as we talked about, they were one of the dominant teams in FCS.
Right.
So what is that just going to carry over and they're going to be the dominant team in the Sun Belt, or is there going to be some recalibration happening there? So I'm going to mark that as an I don't know. Just not going to put it. But, yeah, I'm looking at 8 wins, 7 wins around there, especially if we need to at least split that 2-game stretch, Coastal, Marshall, get one there. That's big. And then we need to win out. The one game that scares me, especially if we win those 2 road games, Old Dominion at home Saturday, November 19th. Old Dominion has a history against us.
Yeah, and that's senior day too. So you know that's going to be a big game.
Yeah, no. So that one, that's the one that's scaring me down the stretch. But I think we'll get to at least 8. I think that'll be a good floor for us.
Yeah, the ceiling and floor is probably the biggest gap that I've seen. Since I've been here, it's usually we'll probably go 10-2, 11-1. But here, it's I think Ryan said it is probably a ceiling of 11 and a floor of 7.
That's fair. Oh yeah, that's fair.
The widest gap you've seen. Of course, the first 2 games, it's going to look weird if we start 0-2. That's not usually how App State.
Uncharacteristic for sure.
So. Exactly. And then you said it. We've mentioned it so many times. The James Madison game. Georgia State is a team that no one's really talking about yet, but they're usually pretty tough on us. They weren't last year, but their defense a couple of years ago, I mean, they pretty much shut us down, and they almost beat us here on our home field.
Yeah.
So they're always tough defensively, and of course, that final stretch, Coastal, Marshall, ODU, and then Georgia Southern, we haven't really talked about. they're not as talented as they have been in past years, but it's a rivalry game.
Clay Helton too.
That's exactly right. First year for him. That's one of those games you throw the record book out the window. That famous cliche, but that's one of those games you could flip flop either way too. So
yeah, those Georgia schools are tough.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot for App State this year, as you mentioned, Lucas, earlier. Usually you kind of just walk through the schedule and say, 20-point win, 20-point win, 20-point win.
I actually have. So after Coastal game, which was our big win of the season, we had a stretch of wins, which included Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State, South Alabama, Troy, and Georgia Southern. So, I mean, you could ignore Troy and Georgia Southern are Troy's on our side, but we're playing Troy. But just because of how the divisions have split up, adding new teams to the Sun Belt, we're missing out on just circle wins like Arkansas State, South Alabama, and Louisiana Monroe. So it definitely got tougher for us.
Yeah,
that stretch.
Some people are saying that the Sun Belt East is going to be the toughest division in Group of Five football.
West of the Group of Five.
That's exactly what I saw as well. You look at the teams, man. It is a gauntlet, and I feel bad for the Old Dominions or Georgia Southerns who have to play that grind schedule. I feel like App State is built for something like that, but some of these new teams, Old Dominion coming from Conference USA.
Yeah, don't really know what to expect there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be a lot more interesting this year, I'll say, especially with pretty much our entire receiver room gone from a year ago. Still got Chase Bryce at quarterback, which is positive to look at, and defensively, a couple of the stars gone. No DeMarco Jackson, no Demetrius Taylor, no Sean Jolly, I believe, as well. And I think it's special teams. Chandler Staten also gone.
Yeah.
So
that's a big loss.
The leg on special teams. Yeah.
Virtually automatic a year ago. So there's a lot to work on for App State, but they've got plenty of time to think about it. We're going to go into our final segment of shout-outs. We'll start with you, Andrew.
All right. I just want to shout out all my friends and family watching, especially family on my mom's side. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And, all my friends, appreciate y'all for tuning in as well.
I want to shout out my family, of course. But another person I want to shout out is Ja Morant, 52 points in career high, leading the Grizzlies to a win last night.
Yeah, I want to shout out my grandma and my sister listening. Sorry I had to slander UNC a little bit. I know she didn't like that. But I'm going to shout out, even though begrudgingly, shout out James Harden and the 76ers. I don't like how he got there, but you can't argue with results, and they've looked really good these last two games, shooting like 600 free throws a game. So,
and I will shout out you guys for being a great crew for my first time hosting. I'll also shout out my family for listening in as well. And my sports shout out is Taiwan Malone. You may have never heard of him. He's a 310-pound defensive tackle at Ole Miss who also plays baseball. And he went yard over the weekend. Big Daddy Tank for the final run rule for Ole Miss. So that'll do it for Sports Wrap tonight. My name is Jeffrey Marson alongside Andrew, Ryan, and Lucas. Thank you for listening in. We'll send you back to your music.
Be my future.